Thank you for joining us today to discuss understanding trauma-informed care in schools. This is part of the DLC's series of quick takes designed to make professional development easy and accessible. We are the Diverse Learners Cooperative. We exist to create purposeful networks of educators, providing them with high-quality resources and collaborative learning experiences that increase best practices for diverse learners and improve teacher retention. Today's quick take will focus on understanding what trauma is, how it might show up for students in your classroom, and 3 foundational strategies for helping students with trauma feel safe, comfortable, and prepared to learn while at school. Let's start by defining trauma. While there is no one definition for trauma, it is generally agreed that traumatic experiences originate from overwhelming events that generate intense negative emotions, such as shame, helplessness, and fear. Traumatic experiences also typically involved some perceived or witnessed threat to oneself. This threat could be physical, mental, or emotional. It's important to remember that trauma is subjective. For example, in a family that experiences the same natural disaster, some family members might be traumatized from that event, while others may not be. The experience of trauma differs from person to person and is impacted by their stage of development. Consider the following situation. Jimmy is 11 years old in the 6th grade. During an unannounced fire drill, his teacher stops the lesson and tells the students to line up quickly. The students rush to the door, and as Jimmy lines up, he feels someone bump into him from behind, hard enough that he falls forward a step before he catches himself. Next, consider these 2 responses. In response A, Jimmy catches himself with his arm against the door, avoiding bumping into the student in front of him. He turns to the student behind him, a new student named Mike, who he's never really spoken to, and says, "Hey man, be careful, where's the fire?" Both students laugh, and Jimmy turns back to face the front of the line. In response B, Jimmy catches himself with his arm against the door and feels a surge of anger. He's convinced that someone shoved him on purpose. It seems like the other students are always trying to start something. He turns and sees that the person behind him is the new kid, Mike, and he shoves him hard, saying, "Hey man, you need to watch out." The difference between these 2 responses are the assumptions that Jimmy holds. Cues of danger for children who have experienced trauma are subjective. Was Jimmy pushed by accident or was it on purpose? The reality of the situation is not what dictates his interpretation. It's his guiding assumptions. All of us carry these assumptions that have been formed by our experiences in the world. For students who have experienced developmental trauma, these assumptions are more likely to be rigid and generalized. For example, it's not just one individual who's dangerous, it's all individuals. For children who grew up experiencing repeated stress, chaos, danger, or harm in their relationships and environments, they are likely to have a deeply internalized sense of vulnerability in the world. They adopt beliefs such as these listed here due to internalized responses to trauma. It's a defensive strategy to protect against whatever unknown may come next. So, how can we create a trauma-informed classroom that helps reduce some of these trauma symptoms and reset those belief systems? There's 3 foundational building blocks to creating a classroom that is trauma-informed. We'll start with routines and rhythms. Children who have experienced trauma are often hypervigilant due to their historically experienced chaos and unpredictability. This means they're on perpetual alert for unpredictability and change, making it hard to relax, be in a good headspace to learn, build relationships, or follow classroom expectations. Building a daily rhythm allows their nervous system to relax and increase their sense of felt safety. There are nearly limitless options for educators to build routines into their classrooms. Ask yourself, which parts of the day feel most dysregulated or chaotic, and why. And then consider how you can add structure or predictability to that part of the day. For example, if the transition to lunch is always chaotic, can you assign a spot in line to each student that remains consistent for the full week? If students are having trouble settling when they walk in, can there be an arrival check-in routine that occurs each day? You can also preview new experiences when possible, letting students know when a field trip is coming up or a substitute teacher will be in. The next foundational block of trauma-informed classroom is engagement. Of course, we want our learners engaged in their work. However, engagement for students with trauma often goes beyond just engaging with their schoolwork. It means engaging in their relationship with teachers and their peers. And trauma often happens in the context of interpersonal relationships. So by helping them feel invested in their student-teacher or student-peer relationships, they're learning that these relationships can feel respectful, safe, and supportive. Ask yourself, how can I ensure each student knows I believe they can succeed? One strategy is to find opportunities for autonomy and to celebrate success. For example, you can use behavior-specific praise, such as, Jimmy, great job using your walking feet to line up. You can offer opportunities for student choice. You can encourage their participation in their own goals by being transparent and collaborative with the learner, checking in to see what hopes or goals they might have for the next quarter. The final foundational block of a trauma-informed classroom is education. This may seem self-explanatory, but this goes beyond academics. This is teaching the learner the why behind the what. Children who have experienced trauma often know that their behavior or experiences are different than their peers. This knowledge can contribute to a deficit-based system of beliefs about themselves and their behavior, like what we discussed earlier. By encouraging curiosity in the learner, normalizing emotions, and empowering their perspective, you can help students move from a deficit-based mindset and support your own emotional regulation. Ask yourself, how can I ensure my students understand the why behind my expectations? For example, explaining when you can, your rationale behind a demand to your learner will help you become a more predictable relationship in their life. Explaining the why behind big feelings or different emotional regulation skills can help validate the learner's experience and help them feel less isolated in their experience. Having visual aids around the classroom can further support a student's understanding. By using these three building blocks, you're taking an important first step to supporting learners with trauma in your classroom. Thank you for joining us. If you're interested in learning more about supporting special education teachers, please visit us at diverselearnerscoop.com.